there would be a lot to talk about on it, so, by whatever I say, don't take it personally. Alright. So the issue of gay couples adopting children has been one of the most controversial arguments amongst people in the U.S. today. Now that gay individuals are gaining rights to marry in certain states, they are also looking to pursue equality in other areas of family life. However, regardless of the concern that gay individuals should receive equal rights in this matter, there are many other important aspects that must be taken into account when considering this issue. I believe that children should be raised in the traditional heterosexual family because it is better overall for them in their growth, and I hope to persuade you with research from Glenn T. Stanton, Timothy J. Daley, and some other sources. So first, let's look at Timothy J. Daley and what he states. As a senior fellow at the Center for Marriage and Family Studies of Family Research Council, Dr. Timothy J. Daley specializes in issues threatening the institutions of marriage and the family. His experience includes college-level instruction both at home and abroad. On the issue of homosexual parenting, Dr. Daley believes that children are happier, healthier, and more successful than children raised in non-traditional environments. While some research points to homosexual households being no different than the traditional heterosexual family, Dr. Daley reports that there is a flaw in research which is due to inadequate sample size, lack of random sampling, a lack of anonymity of research participants, and self-presentation bias. What it means by this is that the homosexual parents who are volunteering themselves to participate in the survey to state whether or not their children are being raised the same way as in a heterosexual family, he's saying that it's usually a biased survey because the parents who are volunteering themselves want to show that it is equal, which in some cases it could be, but with the research it could present otherwise. Furthermore, Dr. Daley goes on to say that the sexual behaviors that same-sex parents engage in make them, by definition, inappropriate role models for these children. This inappropriate behavior is displayed by same-sex parents, and it goes against a societal norm, or according to Andrew J. Cherlin, who is also a scholar in this topic, the norm refers to the widely accepted rules about how people should behave. Thus, it can be concluded that Dr. Daley is rooted in the notion that children benefit most from being raised in the traditional heterosexual family. Glenn T. Stanton is another researcher who presents important information on this issue. He is a senior research analyst for marriage and family from Focus on the Family, and author of Why Marriage Matters, Reasons to Believe in Marriage in Postmodern Society. He also agrees with Daley, and he states that there are various differences in which mothers and fathers interact with their children, from the way they play with the children, to the way they communicate, and the way they talk to their children in many different ways, such as discipline. According to Stanton, by 8 weeks of age, even infants can tell the difference between interaction with a male and female. And he states that this is due to mainly because of the father, because fathers have a distinct style of communication and interaction when they play with their children. In regard to parental discipline, Stanton states that research shows that fathers stress justice, fairness, and duty, while mothers stress sympathy, care, and help. And this is a clear distinction in the gender roles that fathers and mothers can play when they rear their children. Stanton discusses how each parent, as mother and father, has their own distinct way in when they discipline their children. He states that fathers tend to observe and enforce rules systematically and sternly, which teach children the objectivity and consequences of right and wrong, and mothers lean toward grace and sympathy in the midst of disobedience, which provides a sense of hopefulness. This combination of discipline resembles the authoritative style of parenting, which scholars in public and private families believe that is the best way to raise your children, as it makes them more socially competent in society, which means that they have a higher self-esteem, and they cooperate better with others, and they develop a better moral sense, and are more independent. Now, he states that it is better with fathers and mothers to do this because if you have, two lesbian couples raising a child, they'll lack the interaction that a father can provide, and vice versa. If you have two fathers, it'll lack the care that a mother can provide. Now let's look at some specific problems with heterosexual partnerships. Focusing on the specific harmful aspects associated with children being raised in homosexual families, Daley claims that research indicates that the homosexual lifestyle is not consistent with the proper raising of children. He says that homosexual relationships are characteristically unstable and are fundamentally incapable of providing children the security that they need. Research also reveals that the average homosexual male has hundreds of sex partners throughout his lifetime, which I found that heterosexual couples can have this too. A lifestyle that is not conducive to a healthy and wholesome environment for the raising of children. There's also a difference in the meaning of commitment between heterosexual couples and homosexual couples. In The Male Couple by David P. McWhirter and Andrew M. Madison, reports show that in a study of 156 males in homosexual relationships, most of these men understood sexual relations outside the relationship to be the norm. Most of these men to be the norm and viewed adopting monogamous standards as an act of oppression, meaning that they viewed that if they followed the way that heterosexual couples were interacting in their relationships, that it would be some kind of an oppression against them because they want to be separated from these people, or from heterosexual couples, because they want to have equal rights and they want to show that they can be different. This study reveals a high level of promiscuity within gay relationships and is opposite to the majority of heterosexual couples who follow the idea of sexual monogamy. The higher rate of violence within gay relationships is also a large concern regarding this issue. According to D. Island and P. Letelier, authors of Men Who Beat the Men Who Love Them, the incidence of domestic violence among gay men is nearly double that in the heterosexual population. When I read this statistic, I figured that this could be due to men are more violent in nature. So if there were two men in a relationship, it could possibly be more violent. But the fact that this research was what this research shows is still an alarming statistic. Another problem with children being raised in homosexual households is the increasing likelihood that these children will experiment in same-sex relationships. While this is not viewed as wrong for the people who view that everyone should be equal, the researchers are stating that this could be a problem because when a child is raised in a family with homosexual parents, it might not be their choice in whether or not they want to be gay or straight. It could be due to the society that they are being raised in, which is they're being influenced by their parents, and that's what they state could be a problem. So, looking further on, Sherlin, which the guy I mentioned earlier, he wrote Public and Private Families. He talks about sexual identity, and he states that sociologists and other scholars believe sexual identities are completely determined by society and can also be created by biological influences. There are a number of studies that support this point, refuting the claim that homosexual households do not recruit children into their lifestyle. A study in developmental psychology found that 12% of the children in lesbian households became active lesbians themselves, a rate, according to Tasker and Golumbik, which is at least 4 times the base rate of lesbianism in the adult female population. Based on these studies, it is apparent that parents have a significant impact on the sexual identities of their children, and children raised in homosexual families seem to be influenced by their parents' actions and possibly regard their parents' lifestyle to be something that they can follow. And in conclusion, despite these numerous studies, the notion that heterosexual couples provide the best possible level of parenting and environment for children to be raised in still remains inconclusive. However, with all the research that has been done by scholars such as Glenn T. Stanton and Timothy J. Daley, I believe that it is overall most beneficial for children to be raised in the traditional family, and I hope that you have been persuaded.
Thanks. No, it'll be funny.